1994. All right, moving into the NFL, the Broncos made a splash yesterday acquiring wide receiver Jaylen Waddle from the Miami Dolphins. Before adding Waddle, the Broncos have been the only team to not add a player from another team since free agency opened last week. So the Dolphins signed Malik Willis, and then they trade away his top weapon. And there's some other teams that need receivers that didn't get in on the mix. Kmart is here. I want to ask you, who was the loser in the sweepstakes here of not getting Jaylen Waddle?
Hello, Steven. Well, Courtney, you just said it. They signed Malik Willis, and then they traded away the whole team. If I'm Malik Willis, yes, I'm happy that I got my $45 million guaranteed. Great. Who am I throwing the ball to? If you look at that wide receiver room now, Tutu Atwell, Malik Washington, Jalen Tolbert, no disrespect to them. And obviously, you have Devon Achane in that mix, too. But if you're Malik Willis, you went from a Packers organization. You have your chance to finally shine with a head coach that you have familiarity with. And now you're looking around wondering, okay, where's the rest of the talent on this roster? Listen, the Dolphins have a brilliant opportunity in front of them. 11 draft picks this year. They've got to hit on all of those picks this year and then next year, because this is a team that clearly needs roster talent. So if I'm Malik Willis, I'm not feeling super great when I think about the season that, and the teams that I'm about to face as well.
Go ahead, Doggy.
Well, listen, I understand your point about Willis. You got to give him somebody.
Something.
I get it. Denver, no argument. They did get 3 picks. They got a first pick, a third-round pick, and a fourth-round pick. They got 3 picks. Mm-hmm. Now, you're right. They got to nail them. But they got 3 picks for a team that is not a great team. Even with Waddle, they were not going to be a postseason team. He wasn't the missing piece.
Well, they're rebuilding.
Well, if you're rebuilding, then what do you need a receiver for? You might as well go get your picks and get young players and go from there.
Well, but that's my point, though. You're Malik Willis now, and you found yourself in this rebuilding situation. I'm hoping that the Dolphins clued him in on their plans for the next 2 years. But if you're Malik Willis, you really only have 2 years to kind of show, this year, essentially, to show that you should be here long term. This is a team that could use those picks in a couple years, next year, a couple years, get their quarterback of the future. So it's not the greatest situation, despite the money that he's been given.
Well, remember, he's got the Packer aficionados running the team. He knows the defensive coordinator. He knows the GM.
Yes.
So if he plays decently, he'll trust him. This is not 2 strangers who are running the organization. Mm-hmm. Listen, I think it's a good trade for both teams. I can't kill the Dolphins, a team that wasn't going to do much. They did get 3 picks out of the deal.
Yeah.
So who's the biggest loser, Mad Dog?
I don't have one.
Okay.
I think they both.
Wow, the guy who kills everybody for not answering the questions. The way that they are scripted out.
Exactly. See, I'm glad you picked up on the hypocrisy, Courtney. I'm glad you picked up on the hypocrisy. But listen, first of all, Kimberly's not wrong. I get where she's coming from. What I would say in response to that, even though you have a point, Kimberly, because you got Tutu Atwell, Jalen Tolbert, and Malik Washington as your receivers to throw the football to. They ain't Jaylen Waddle. They ain't Tyreek Hill. So obviously, if you're Malik Willis, obviously you could have wished for better than that. But in the same breath, Miami does get a first, a third, and a fourth-round pick, and clearly they weren't going anywhere anyway. They were going to the beach anyway. As far as I'm concerned, half the year they are at the beach. I mean, that's what they are. Okay, so we know that. I think that when you think about a loser, I think they're on the beach half the time. This is a team. By the way, I don't know if y'all noticed it. You know how I kept saying that Miami doesn't win games in 40-degree weather or worse? Remember how I kept saying that? Do you know I looked up a stat yesterday? Their record was just as bad in degrees worse than 70 degrees. Not 40, 70. That's pathetic. My God, it's football. You can't play in degree weather. You can't win in degree weather in the 60s and the 50s. It's just bad. But anyway, my answer to this question, believe it or not, Kimberly, is the Buffalo Bills. That's what came to my mind because I keep thinking about how they had a chance to get Waddle. Remember when they were negotiating before the trading deadline, and the report stated that Miami wanted a first-round pick in 2026, this year's NFL draft. Buffalo wasn't willing to give up anything before 2027. And I'm like, how do you pass up on getting Josh Allen, Jaylen Waddle? Jaylen Waddle. How do you pass that up? So it's a simple question. We can deduce it. The Buffalo Bills squad that you saw lose 33-30 in overtime to the Denver Broncos. Could you have won that game if you had Waddle? I think so. If you're thinking about them now and you look at New England and what the expectations are, and you look at Baltimore and what people are expecting them to resurrect themselves into. When you look at Jacksonville and Houston and the years that they've had, and Indianapolis keeping Daniel Jones and the Chargers and Kansas City is not going to remain down, blah, blah, blah. The Denver Broncos being able to get him, this is the same Denver Broncos team that was the #1 seed. Same Denver Broncos team that had 68 sacks, 4 shy of an all-time record by the Chicago Bears in 1984. Same Denver Broncos team that would have been in the Super Bowl if Bo Nix hadn't gone down. And now you let them get Jaylen Waddle? That's how I'm looking at this. Buffalo and Denver are 2 elite teams in the AFC, and I think you let the other team get Jaylen Waddle instead of getting him yourself. That's how I'm thinking about it.
But Stephen A., they just traded for
DJ Moore, a second.
And they had to give up a second-round pick for
No, I understand that. What I'm saying to you, they were talking before the trading deadline about getting Waddle. I consider Waddle better than DJ Moore. I know DJ Moore got a greater upside. But I think I'm looking at Jaylen Waddle, and I'm saying, as electrifying as that brother can be when healthy, to me, he's somebody that should have been in Buffalo. It's more so about him making sure he didn't land at some place like Denver, who already beat you. That's how I'm looking at it. You don't let somebody like that get stronger. And I think that's what happened. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, not a good enough take. Go ahead, Dog.
Well, maybe Miami didn't want to trade him within own division. They look at him twice. You got to remember that, too. The second-round pick, what number was that?
For Buffalo.
For DJ Moore. What number was it, 45th pick?
Yeah, it's a little bit later on.
So, and they have a first-round pick, Buffalo? Yeah. So Buffalo decided, and what did they have the first-round pick, about 25, 26? What's the number?
Yeah.
All right, so Buffalo decided that DJ Moore giving up the 50th pick is better than giving up the 25th pick for Waddle. I can't kill him on that.
I'm trying to say how Buffalo catching strays in this conversation. Yeah. Like what, Steven.
I really believe that. Well, let me say this to you. You could be right, Kimberly, but what if we're sitting here next year, right?
Yeah.
And we're saying Josh Allen still don't have the weapons he needs. Then I'll be right. That's what I'm predicting. See, it's the same old thing with Buffalo. That's my issue. I believe that you go out and you make sure you get a Waddle. You make sure he don't land someplace like Denver. You make sure you get him for yourself. That's what I'm thinking. And I think it's going to come back to bite them. That's why I have the position that I have.
Okay, we'll leave it here because we got to get into Max Crosby. He spoke for the first time about his trade to the Ravens, falling through. You are not going to want to miss that heat. Speaking of heat, Mad Dog going off the rails. It's coming up next.
We're Goliaths. They're David. They make 3 awful calls. Isn't 88 enough, please? You're right, that's freaking Scotland. And look at this right here.